And we are live. Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome to She Built It Boss Lady Chronicles. I am Sharita Gaskins Tillett. I am your host. And this is the show where we feature the amazing stories of high achieving women who are owning their power to transform their lives. I don't know. I'm having trouble with my light tonight, guys. So I guess it'll keep going off and on, but it's okay. We'll get right back to it when it goes out. But anyway, so like I said, this is the show where we feature the amazing stories of women who are owning their power to transform their lives. I have a really exciting guest with me tonight, but I just want to give a couple minutes for other folks to join in. And while we're waiting, I have some exciting news to share with you guys. This past week, I became a published author. So this book, Made for More Too, I'm one of the authors of this book. Myself, along with 17 other female physicians, have written this book, Made for More Too. You can get it on Amazon, but it is a compilation of inspirational stories designed to show you the way. You know, if you have ever felt like there was more for you in life, that this is not all there is, I encourage you to get this book. It's written by physicians, but it's really the meat of the stories is for anybody who's ever had a desire to take their life to a different level, to a higher level. So I would encourage you guys to get this book. It is amazing. The women who wrote it are amazing, and I am exceedingly proud to be a part of that project. Also, registration is open for a weekend for me, Grand Cayman, taking place October 2nd through the 5th. So we would love to host you there. Check it out, www.aweekendforme.com. And so now, without further ado, I am going to introduce tonight's guest. So I have joining me tonight Dr. Sara Ionescu. Dr. Sara is a certified family medicine physician, wife, mom of five, and exercise enthusiast. She is passionate about wellness, preventive care, and exercise, and loves to inspire others to move. She strives to stay physically active daily as she sees massive physical and mental health benefits with this and wants to help, inspire, and encourage others to do the same. Welcome, Dr. Sara.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sharita. I'm so excited to be here. And hi, everybody.
Yeah, and I'm happy to have you. So I usually like to start by asking you to kind of take us through your journey in medicine. Did you always know that you wanted to be a physician? How did you come to be a family physician?
So, yes, I did always know I wanted to be a physician. I had a pediatrician growing up that was just incredible. I was so inspired by her every time we went for our visits. And I think she picked up on how interested I was in what was going on. I asked a lot of questions, and I sort of built this relationship with her over the years where when I got to high school, I even worked for her in the summers a few times, like learning kind of the medical assistant skills and just learning the ins and outs of being a physician. And that was what really inspired me to apply to medical school. I took a circuitous route. I didn't get in initially, kept at it, worked for a while, decided, no, wait a minute, I really do want to go to medical school. I, did some more schooling to kind of ramp up my application. It eventually got accepted. And that circuitous path, I think, really built my strength up
Yes.
to be able to be in the right place to do medical school at that point. Because I think if I hadn't taken that path, I don't know that I would have been ready to go straight from college for me personally. So I get to medical school, do the first 2 years, which for anyone listening is traditionally kind of the more classroom based learning. And then my third year, which is where we start kind of getting out there, learning how to see patients, how to talk to patients. I did all the rotations and I loved all of them. Like there were pieces of all of them that I really, really liked.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh no, because in medical school, I thought, well, going in because of what I just explained, I thought for
Yeah.
sure I was going to be a pediatrician because I loved her. I loved taking care of kids. And then when I got to actually seeing patients, it was like, oh, wait a minute. If I choose peds, I don't get to see like women's health, and I won't see adults and all these other things. Like I won't maybe do as many procedures. And that combined with the very first day of my family medicine rotation, when I got there, it was just this sense of like feeling like I fit in, where if you've ever been a medical student, or really if you've ever started anything new, there's always these sort of like first day jitters of everything where it's like, uh-oh, like now I have to
Yeah.
navigate and figure out what's happening this first day. And it was like within an hour of that rotation, I just felt relaxed, like I could be myself. And that was like the final, like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. And that's how I ultimately got on the path to family medicine.
So now tell me, what was it about the pediatrician or about being at the pediatrician's office that inspired you to want to be a doctor? Because everybody goes to the pediatrician, but not everybody
Yeah,
comes out wanting to be a physician. So
yeah.
what was it about her, or what was it about the setting that inspired you so much?
So I think it was because we had like she was so warm, and it almost felt like she was a part of our family. Like she
Mm,
remembered the pets' names. She remembered like to ask questions. Like she was always asking about school and how we were doing. Like it wasn't just about the doctor stuff. It felt like she was very invested in us as a family. And then she was getting to combine that with like this amazing science and knowledge and background. And when I saw that, like I had all of those educational interests, but then she also was able to have this continuing relationship with us and watch us grow and like participate in that. And so I think that like getting to see that, I felt like that was a very unique opportunity that you get as a physician, where you're really very close to the patients, and sometimes talk about information with them that they don't share with anyone else. And that felt like such a special honor, to be able to do that and help patients, not only by prescribing medicine but by being able to talk with them about all of these things. And I think I saw that so much in her. And that was just something that I wanted for myself moving forward in a career.
wow, I think that's really insightful for a teenager, or young adult to really to be able to take notice of those things, but also to recognize that that's something that you wanted for your life. Now, so I applaud
Yeah.
you for that, but I also applaud you for the circuitous route into medicine. So I too took a very circuitous route. And,
Okay.
honestly, I have come to believe that to some extent, that I think that that helps to make us more unicorny, if you will,
Yeah.
because medicine to a large extent, a lot of the training, the medical training is uh, hazing in a sense, right? And I think that when you haven't lived in the real, quote unquote, real world, when all you've done is go to college and straight into medical school, I think sometimes you are tempted to believe the hype that medicine is everything, that there's nothing else to your life, there's nothing else that you can have. You eat, breathe, sleep, medicine, that's it. There's nothing more important. But I think when you've had an opportunity to see more of the world and participate in more of the world, then you have different priorities, and you can kind of see through some of the tricks, the mind tricks and other things that they, at least for me, that's what I felt like. I was able to see some of the things that, where they were trying to haze us, but I recognized what was important and what wasn't important, and could make
Yeah.
those distinctions for my own life.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think the other thing I noticed with myself was I am very much a person where I find it easier to be able to understand the patient when I've experienced things, which, I mean, of course we learn all the things in medical school, and you get experience by seeing patients over and over and different conditions over and over. But like as a specific example, I was educating pregnant patients and postpartum patients before I had ever had a baby.
Mhm.
And then when I had one, it was like, okay, I need to like revamp what I'm saying because I learned so much about that process. And that's one example that was after I was already in medical school. But I think when I had all of these life experiences that were challenging and different things. And I felt like for me, it helped me to be able to relate to the patients in a different way sometimes that I could kind of understand some of the situations they were in and sometimes how difficult it might be to follow a doctor's instructions to a T when you're navigating paying bills and maybe having a mortgage and having a job and like all these things where sometimes when you go straight through, you maybe haven't had as much of that experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's true as well. But it definitely does build your empathy and gives you different perspectives to be able to share. It makes you more relatable to the
Yeah.
patient, but also makes the patient more relatable to you. So
Hmm.
you can understand some of the challenges people may have when they're not able to adhere to whatever program you've given them for whatever reason. You again have more empathy, I think, in
Yeah.
that situation. So now are you currently practicing family medicine?
So I am working very few days a week, just like, sorry, a month, just as needed. So I had been practicing full time in the past, and then I transitioned to significantly less. About, I guess it's been about 2 years at this point.
Okay.
And that kind of coincided with having my fourth baby, and now I have a fifth baby, and we're kind of navigating all of that.
Okay, so how in the world? So in on this show, we talk a lot about balance and self-care and all of those things. How on earth do you balance it all with 5 children?
Yeah. So I feel like I get asked this question a lot,
I
and
bet.
I think I think the one thing is my husband is also a physician, and when we had our first, I was a brand new attending and he was a surgical resident. And so from the beginning, we've kind of had to navigate like figuring all of that out. Of course, initially we had help, we had a nanny that helped to take care of her, but all this to say, we really focused on like as soon as she was able to participate in anything, we had her helping out. So things like, bringing your dishes to the dishwasher, making sure your shoes are in the right place when we get in the house, like taking your jacket off and putting that where it goes. And obviously, like when they're toddlers, you're assisting with that and helping. But so from that point on, then when we had a second one, he was like, oh, this is what she does. So this is
Yeah,
just what we
yeah,
do. And we've really, as a family, fostered a lot of teamwork because without it, I can't run everything myself. And so we are very much focused on doing things as a team. So, like I said, the day to day house stuff, a lot of that we will do it as a team. I also really learned through all of these kids and through the different jobs that I've had over the years how to prioritize the things that are really important and that really matter. And that tends to allow me to be more efficient when I know those like cup filling things are done. So like one example for me, like you said, is exercise because that is something that is crucial for me. Other things are making sure, and it can be 5 minutes. So what I have found is, for example, like dishes need to be done. If I take 5 minutes to sit on the floor and play with them and then do the dishes, I feel good because I did some fun stuff, meaningful time with them. They inherently will be able to play independently for 5 or 10 minutes while I do the dishes. Whereas if I do it the other way around and I try to do the dishes first, it's epic attention getting behavior because they want attention first. And then it takes me
right.
3 times as long to do it because I'm stopping and trying to make sure somebody's not getting hurt and all of this. And
Right,
so,
right.
and I initially thought that that had to be like 30 minutes or it would be ineffective. And so I just didn't do it at all. And then because what I teach about exercise is it doesn't have to be all or none. It was like, I can apply this to other things
Ah,
in my
yes.
life. And so I said, let me just try this. One day I said, let me just sit and we're going to do Legos for 5 minutes. And it was like, it was like a miracle. And obviously it
Wow.
doesn't work every single
Sure.
time, every single day, but it worked way better than I ever thought it would for only being 5 minutes. Um, and the best part of that is then because I'm able to get some of those other things done more efficiently, it frees up more time to maybe spend with them or to do other self-care things that I want to do, whatever it is. But so I think the way I balance it is the teamwork of the family and really staying away from the all or nothing thinking and really trying to be like, okay, we have a couple minutes, we're going to maximize these minutes, even if it's only one or two, because ultimately, and there are days this happens too, you get to the end of the day and it's like, what did I even do today? Like, I don't even
Right.
know because
Yeah.
it was just putting
A
out
blur.
fires all over yeah, exactly. And I had enough days like that where it was like, I don't want that to be what is happening every day, especially when they're little. And,
Yeah.
obviously this time goes really quickly. And so what I found is taking the time, even if it is just 1 or 2 minutes to be present, allows me to have that balance that I feel like I'm part of the present now, but I can also do the things that have to be done to, to keep moving forward as a family.
Excellent. So now, I think that's very smart of you. Do you come from a large family? Like, how did you know? So I think about it. I think it's genius that even with the first one, you started by empowering her. From the start, as soon as she was able to participate, she was empowered to do so. And I think that that was really key in being able to, train up the next ones. Because the younger ones follow the example of the older.
Yeah.
So if they
Yes.
see her putting her things away and taking her plate from the table and all of that, then it just, you get a good system going. Did you come from a large family? Did you see those kinds of behaviors, or it just was kind of intuitive?
I think a little bit of both. I have only one sibling, and our generation of family members typically had two or three. My dad is one of five. Currently, he was one of six, but one of five. And so they definitely had a bigger family, but I was too small to really, at that
Sure.
point, because that, he didn't have me yet. But so I think some of it was that. Some of it was, I guess, intuitive in the way of like, I was always very team driven. Like, I was an athlete when I was younger. And then even in residency, like, it just always felt so much better when you did things as a team. Like, when you were just trying to flounder by yourself, that's what I always
Yeah.
felt like I was floundering. And then when I talked to other people and got other people involved, or like, hey, let's change how we do this call schedule. And instead of being on call by yourself, you're on call with another person. Like, it just feels like doing things in a team makes it more fun. It makes it go by faster. And you just get to like make memories in that moment. I don't know. That was just one of the things for me that, and we like it makes it fun for the kids too, because they feel, I think, like you said, they feel empowered and they like having responsibility where they
Yes.
feel like excited to participate as a family member.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I think kids get really excited about structure and, like my daughter will make lists of things that she's
Yes.
supposed to do and
Yeah.
all of that. But
And
it's like,
check
I
them
guess
off.
it makes them right. Yeah, I think it makes them feel accomplished to know that they have
Yeah.
a task that they can do. So again, I commend you for that. Now,
Thank
I want
you.
to transition to talk about the exercise part, because one thing that you didn't have in your bio, but that I happen to know about you, is that you have a YouTube channel that is dedicated to helping women get brief burst of exercise. So talk to me about your exercise enthusiasm, where it comes from, and then what you're hoping to accomplish through this.
Yeah. So it really comes from me being an athlete when I was younger. I think I didn't know it at the time, but so much of that structure and I just feel like that molded me as a person, and it was a nice way to like mentally decompress. Which again, like I didn't know that at the time, but as I think back on those years, like I always felt refreshed and better after a practice. And then I had a time period where, so I was a swimmer. When I graduated and then started working, I found it really challenging to keep that up because I didn't live near where there was a pool, and it was just complicated because you needed a lot of equipment. So
Sure.
I kind of struggled for a little bit to figure out how I was going to stay active, and then I ended up finding running. And so then I got into like doing some races and that kind of thing. And then I got into med school, and then I met my husband and we got married, and then it was like kids and residency. And there were definitely days where I was active, but I had this, and then there were days where I did nothing, like literally nothing except sit and study. And when I thought about it, part of it was because I had this definition of what exercise was, that it had
Mhm.
to be a certain amount of time, a certain amount of effort, you had to be wearing certain clothes, all of this. And if I couldn't meet that, then I just did nothing. And for years that went on where I would work out here and there, and then I had my daughter, and it was like, wait a minute, like I want to model for her how to be active. I have to figure this out like in a better way. And I had been for years telling my patients that were saying that they struggled with getting moving, can you find 1 minute a day to move? And the reason why I started asking that question was because it's sort of like, how could you say no? Like you can't really
Right.
say
Yes.
no to
Yes.
1 minute.
1 minute. Yeah.
And so, and then I started having patients coming back and saying, like, Doc, after I got up for a minute, I felt great. So I kept going. Or then the next day I did it twice. And like seeing all these other ripple effects just from doing this seemingly small amount of activity. And there was one day I was in the room with a patient and I said it. And then it was like this light bulb. And it was like, why am I not listening to myself? Like,
Right.
I'm choosing this all or nothing path. I need to start with something. And so that's what I did. And over the years, every child I've had, I've been able to be more active and more consistent despite having more kids and seemingly less time, because I've seen like how important it is for me, both physically, because it helped with my pregnancies, it helped with the labor and delivery process. I've had comparisons where I was more active and less active during pregnancy. I guess that's the luxury of having five. I have all these comparisons.
Right. Right.
And so the activity level for me directly correlated to how good I felt sooner after delivery. And it certainly made that process much smoother. I just felt better overall, not just physically, but also mentally. Because as anybody that's a mom or has supported a mom knows, pregnancy is hard. Postpartum can be really, really challenging. And when I saw that I was not doing a ton of time, but it was making such a difference. And then when I was home from, like, I had quit my job, I was home and thinking about, like, what could I be doing? I thought, like, I got to get out there and start talking about this stuff, because I think from my perspective, it was really hard to figure out what to do. And I thought I had to be doing hours a day for it to be beneficial. And that is absolutely not true. And so that combined with the fact that when I was pregnant the first time, I just felt like I could not find any relatable content on social media, whether it was YouTube or Facebook. I don't even know if Instagram, I'm like brand new to Instagram since I started the social media stuff, but I just found that everything that I found felt like it was like, I'm 5 weeks postpartum and here I am like doing these wild exercises. And it just felt like, as a physician and as a new mom, that was not relatable for most people.
Sure.
And that was what sparked me to really, it was like, okay, I need to get this stuff out there, even though I am terrified of being on video. I am terrified of videoing myself doing exercise moves. I'm going to do it because I think that it will help other women out there that maybe have the same issue that I had, where it was like, you're pregnant or you're postpartum and you don't know what to do or how to do it or any of that, but you have this desire to feel better in your body.
So, probably the women who are watching, the people who are watching are wondering, what can we do in 1 minute that's going to make a difference?
Yeah. I mean, literally anything you do, if you do it for a minute and you do it every single day and you're consistent, it's not going to be like 2 days, it's not going to be 3 days, but even after like 2 or 3 weeks, you will see things starting to change. And so right now I'm also movement coaching. So I have two clients and they have seen, like, going from not moving to moving every day. They're deciding to drink more water. They're choosing healthier things in the kitchen. They are feeling mentally stronger. Like, all of these things where it's like, I thought I had to be out there for half an hour. And it's like, no, no, no. Like, we can do stuff in a minute, in 3 minutes, in 5 minutes. And I say a minute because, like I said, it's really hard to say no. But I mean, if you can
Sure.
find one, you can probably find five, but it doesn't even have to be 20 or 30 minutes. And it's, if you start to really think about, like, okay, I did it, I did it, I did it, you just start to have these, like, you build this confidence of showing up. And then you start to think, like, well, what else could I do?
Right.
Maybe it
Yeah.
could be 10 minutes. Maybe I might be outside walking. Maybe I start lifting weight. You start to see all of these doors that could potentially open because you start to feel better both mentally and physically.
Yeah, I love that. It's like you just start stacking the healthy habits, right? And
Yeah,
it's like your mind opens up to the possibilities. Once you see that you can do one thing, then you're inspired to try something else.
exactly. And you said, like, what could you do in 1 minute? If people, I mean, stand up and march in place, like, as simple as that. And if there's people watching that need ideas, like, I have I don't know it's not a series, but, like, I do 1 minute, I call it 1 minute movement accountability. So it's Facebook and Instagram Reels where I'm literally on there. It's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And sometimes it's a stretch, sometimes it's a strength move, sometimes it's marching in place or arm circles or something, but just, show up there and do it. And then you can expand and grow and go to longer videos and all that kind of thing.
So now tell me, what kind of feedback have you received from the women who have encountered you, the ones who are doing the movement coaching, but also those who are checking out the 1 minute videos?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had people tell me that they have lost lots of weight because they started moving consistently and they weren't necessarily expecting for that to happen. They just were wanting to feel stronger and healthier. This is people that have watched the videos with regularity, not people that I'm coaching. But that's been one, like, just feeling more energized and mentally strong. I think able to, like, navigate the obstacles that come up in everyday life, but feeling like it's, I don't want to say easier, but it's really more about them being stronger and able to, like, navigate some of those things. I think also feeling more peaceful, and calm. And I find that especially with things like stretching, a lot of times I'll combine stretching and meditation. So you get, you're feeling more flexible, but then you also kind of center your mind during that also, because it really forces you to slow down. And it's sometimes a nice time to think while you're also, increasing your flexibility there. Yeah, so all kinds of things are happening. And it's, I think, again, like, I think really the biggest thing is sometimes people, including myself, get stuck in that it has to be like extended periods of time, which is wonderful. And I would love if everybody was
Sure.
exercising for 45 minutes a day, but obviously for many people that's just not realistic. It's not where they are right now. And so breaking it down and keeping it short and sweet, and it can be done in your pajamas. Like most of the stuff that I have out right now everywhere, I mean, you could be in your pajamas. I'm barefoot in I think every single video, aside from if I'm walking on the treadmill. But like really, you could be. It's super simple, no equipment. Yeah, and the idea is whether you're a mom or not, like busy people, you may have other things happening. So, for example, with the kids, like sometimes they'll be there with me and they're watching and they're cheerleading, or, you can, it's okay if you have to take a pause and go do, like, if you're on call, you pause, you answer the phone, okay, you go back to it. Like, it doesn't always have to be time that's, a one chunk. It can be moments throughout the day, and counting that as your movement is also huge mental health wise, because then you just build that confidence, like I said.
Yeah, I think that this is such an important lesson, again, as it relates to self-care, because a lot of people do think that they have to take a lot of time, that self-care has to take a lot of time, that it has to take a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you just told us that it doesn't have to be either of those things, that it can be a very short period of time, but somehow just taking that rest, rest from the norm, if you will, not
Yes.
that the exercise is rest, but it's a break, it's a change of scenery. Having that break in what you're doing is refreshing, and gives
Yeah.
you a minute to connect with yourself and with the world around you. We spend so much time on autopilot, just going and going and going, that when we're exercising, it helps us to get grounded again and to reconnect, and all of those other good things that you talked about. But I think it's such an important lesson that you don't need a lot of time, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to have fancy shoes. Dr. Sarah says she does it barefoot. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I
And
wanted to ask, because I really like too that the fact that your daughter, your first daughter, was the inspiration to get you wanting to model healthy behavior, thinking about that legacy. Do the kids participate with you in the exercise programs? What do you do for them? How do we get the
yeah,
whole family involved?
yeah. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It just depends on the day. We, as a family, are very much like an outside at all costs type of thing because, as you can imagine, with five and they are 7.5 and under, like the energy can get real big real quick inside. And so a lot of times we're outside and I might be brisk walking and they're bike riding, scootering, running, jumping, all of those types of things. They also sometimes will, like if I'm doing stretching or yoga, a lot of times they will want to participate and they'll try to mirror what I'm doing. I mean, many of the 1 minute ones, especially, like they are all things that kids could be doing. It's like none of the stuff that I've posted so far involves like heavy lifting or anything like that. So it's all things that are movements that are really functional for any human. And so I think for me, it was really important that we are a family that chooses to move together. And I think because we started that when they were so small, like now if I give them choices, it's like they choose those. They want to go. They would
Yes.
rather be out and running and biking and doing that. And sometimes it's like, okay, now we have to like sit and do a calm, quiet activity. But so I think that's how I incorporate them. And I mean, just I think it was last weekend, my husband and I were both working out together. I was on the treadmill, he was riding the bike, and they were all behind us and they were just watching, playing, cheering us on, like laughing. And so it's just become like we've created it to be part of our family. And I think that's so important for anyone. Like you said, like, how do you get the whole family moving? And I think that you can make so many family memories that are around
Yeah.
that type of activity where it's like let's go outside for a walk or a hike or whatever it is. I think that that's important. And even if you did not start doing it when they were small, you can absolutely build that habit now. And you just start small, exactly like what I said, where you start in that, okay, we're going to do this for a minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. And then over time, you can throw in different activities and build up to different things. But I think you'd be surprised how, if you're not moving as a family, how helpful that can be. Um, because it also helps everybody sleep better too. Like, that's another
Yeah,
thing I forgot to mention with the wins that I've heard from people is not that they're sleeping more, but that the quality of sleep is better. And I see that in my kids every day. Like, if there's a day that we don't get outside or we're not able to move inside in the way that we need to, then the sleep suffers. And then the next day is a lot of times more tantrums and more emotional, and it's harder to make better choices and that kind of thing. And so that's why for us, it's like movement all the time.
so that makes me think of something. So you talk about how the kids are when they don't get movement, and kids don't have a way of processing their emotions and other things, and so it comes out in the form of tantrums. But what about us?
Yes.
Basically kids are just tiny adults, right?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
so if we're not getting our exercise, I would imagine that there are some things that are kind of pent up in us as well, that we're not
Exactly.
processing well, and that it would just make such a big difference if we were moving regularly.
Yeah. And that's, I'm so glad you said that, Sharita, because I think for me, like when I started, when I graduated college and I talked about that transition from swimming to running, it was very much a physical benefit focus. Like, it was very much driven by that. And what I've learned over the years for myself, but what I've also seen in patients and now clients and people that are watching my videos, is really it's more about the mental benefit that you get. It's like a time to process things, it's a time to think, it can help with all of these things, mental health wise, that I just feel like it's often underlooked and underutilized as a tool,
Yeah.
because the guidelines for various things will say it has to be 30 minutes 5 times a week. So if people can't do that, they don't do anything. And it's like, but no, like, even if you can't do, like, that's wonderful if you can, but if you can't, even if you do a few minutes, like, you will see this shift and this positive energy that just comes. And yes, there will be physical benefits down the line, but I think that mental benefit, that being able to process things, is really what keeps me moving every day.
Now, what do you think about outside versus inside? Because I know some people are gym people, other people are outdoor people. What's your thoughts on that?
I think whatever you can do consistently is what you should do. So for some people, they get bored. And so it's like, I can't do the same thing every day. Great. So one day, maybe if you belong to a gym, you do the gym. Another day, you walk outside. Some people are okay with, like, I do the same thing every day. Okay. If that's what you need to do to show up, that's amazing. I think. I think there's a balance. I do, for me personally, I do some stuff inside, some stuff outside. I would say that when it's really a day that's feeling like overwhelming and stressful, the combination of movement and fresh air is like
Mhm.
a magic cure. So, especially if it's a day where maybe I'm the only grown up at home, everybody's having meltdowns, somehow, myself included, we get outside and move, it's like all feels well.
Yeah.
Like, that fresh air and movement combo for that specific purpose is incredible. But really, I think it's what you can show up for. Now, if you're somebody that's already exercising on a regular basis, you have a regimen, and maybe you haven't been doing certain things, like, okay, now's the time we can talk about, should we throw in strength training for bone health? Like, there's all these different levels to it. But I think if you're somebody that is not moving with regularity, it's really what brings you joy that you can show up for consistently.
So maybe a 1 minute dance party, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we're just about out of time, but I want you to tell folks where they can find you if they're interested in working with you. Tell us the location of your YouTube channel. So if we need those 1 minute infusions and we don't know what to do, we can just subscribe to Dr. Sarah's YouTube channel and get our 1 minute fix every day. You could do that. And then also if they're interested in your movement coaching.
Yeah. So my YouTube, my Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn is Dr. Sara Ionescu everywhere. So it's DrSaraIonescu. And then I don't have like a specific thing set up yet, but for my email list, which is where I would be letting people know about coaching and other things that I've done before, which is like a live workout, like a webinar style live workout, would be to head over to my website, which is drsaraionescu.com, and you can sign up there.
Okay. So now where do you see the business going from here?
Yeah. Sharita, there's a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of things. I am really, really excited about the movement coaching piece because I have seen just these transformations that I did not expect. Like I thought, okay, I can get people moving consistently, but all these other things that are happening, things like getting outside with the kids and like living out dream days that they didn't think was possible before, has gotten me really excited about the one-on-one coaching. Like I mentioned, I also really love doing live stuff, like live workouts, because then it's interactive. So I'm hopeful to do more of that and then keep putting out content on my YouTube channel because I think it's so important. I think it's so important for people to be moving, whether you're pregnant, postpartum, a mom, or anyone, movement is movement and it's so important. And I'm just going to keep going on that.
Excellent. So, it sounds like I know the answer, but I always end with this question. So I'm going to indulge me anyway. So if there is one single best thing that there's a woman who's overwhelmed and she doesn't know where to begin her exercise journey, she's not been moving, but she's listening to us talk today. And she's like, okay, she told me I only need 1 minute. I can do this. I can figure this out. What's the single best thing that she can do for herself?
I would say don't even worry about what you're wearing. Just get up and march in place for 1 minute and then write it down either in a paper and pen or on your phone in a journal, like whatever kind of person you are. I think though the combination of those two activities and just do it every day. And then you'll start to see what happens and you'll be curious about building on it. But I would literally just do 1 minute, get up in whatever clothes you're wearing right now and march in place and then write it down that you did it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us tonight, for inspiring us, to get healthy ourselves, inspiring us to use fitness as a way to connect with our families and to get our families healthier too. You are definitely an inspiration, and I'm happy to know you. And thank you for sharing so much with us. So that's all I have for tonight, guys. We will see you all again next week. Again, don't forget to pick up your copy of Made for More 2. It's available on Amazon. Also, don't forget to register for A Weekend for Me Grand Cayman, October 2nd through the 5th, www.aweekendforme.com. Please, please, please don't forget to subscribe to Dr. Sarah's YouTube channel so that you can get those 1 minute workouts in. I'm going over there I might be already a subscriber. I'm not sure, but if I'm not, I'm going to go over right now and subscribe. So, all right, guys, take care. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you so much.